So what is going on, guys? NanderMan73 here with another video, and I've had the iPad Air 4 for about 2 weeks now, and the iPad has absolutely impressed me in every single facet because of the price, the design, and the sheer power of the thing and what you can get done on that iPad Air. You know, and I want to call it an iPad Pro because that's essentially what it is, guys, but here's my 2-week review on the iPad Air 4. Let's get it going. So the first thing we got to talk about with this guy is the design, obviously. That was the number one thing that changed in regards to the iPad Air 3 versus the 4, right? The 3 had that old form factor, it had the home button, you know, it looks like the iPad 10.2 from Gen 8, Gen 7. It was an old design and people wanted to get rid of it, especially now that the iPad Pros have been out for a little over 2 years now, right? So the new design is absolutely amazing. Yes, you can hate on Apple and say, they just recycled old iPad Pro 2018s, like the 11-inch, and I'm sure they did. I'm sure they recycled it. They just probably threw some new paint on it, you know, and really just maximized their inventory, right? Kudos to them for just not wasting material, just reutilizing what they have on them. So that's what it did. The iPad Air 4 took over the iPad Pro 2018 11-inch form factor. The body is identical. The only difference is that you don't have a flash on the camera versus the Pro you do, but it's the same exact back camera, the same exact front camera, and then the only other looks, physical, aesthetic differences are the color choices that you get. So you get that new mint green and this blue, which I kind of like, but it still is sort of a space gray. And then also the bezels are the tiniest amount larger. You go from 11 inches to 10.9 inches on the screen, which makes the bezels a little bit bigger. And you would think, you know, that would translate into being a little bit annoying, but even coming from the Pro models, right? We have the 11-inch iPad Pro and the 12.9-inch iPad Pro with the smaller bezels. And yes, I noticed it. Obviously, you noticed the larger bezels on the iPad Air 4, but they're really not that bad. You get used to them. I equate it to having the iPhone XR versus the 10 and the 11 versus the 11 Pro. The bezels on those were a little bit bigger, but at the end of the day, if somebody isn't coming from those Pro models, they will never notice. And those bezels give you another nice little added bonus, which is it lets you put your fingers somewhere, right? With the iPad Pro, with the 11-inch and the 12.9, you still have places to put your fingers, but it's a little bit less, and this is just more peace of mind that you won't accidentally touch the screen with a thumb or with a palm or something like that, because it's just resting nicely on your hands. And then the other physical difference, or at least functional physical difference, is how you unlock the device. This has been the one that's a little bit strange for me. You know, this is the 11-inch model, so I can see people using it out and about on the go, so I kind of like the Touch ID. So if you do have a mask on, you know, you can still unlock it. But I use my iPad mostly at a desk, right? It's very rare that I take my iPad out and about, especially because my main iPad is a 12.9-inch one, so it's a little bit larger. So I find it a little bit tedious to constantly have to go and unlock and hold the button to make sure it unlocks, especially when you have the iPad Pro on the Magic Keyboard. Face ID recognizes it, all you do is press the space bar, and the iPad Pro just unlocks. You don't have to interact physically with the screen. You just press the space bar, recognizes your face, press it again, and it unlocks it for you. With this one, it's a little bit added, you know, little reachability. You have to go over, you have to unlock it, and you know, that's one caveat to think about. But again, if you're coming from the older generation iPad Air or even an iPad 10.2, this is an upgrade, right? This is gonna be nice. You're used to going to the home button and clicking on the home button, because most people aren't going from a Pro down to the Air, especially if they have the 3rd and 4th generation Pros. There's no real need, guys. And then when it comes to internal differences, the only difference is that it's rocking the new A14 chip versus the A12X and the A12Z. When we did some geek benchmarks, obviously this has a better single core processing speed. And then when you go into the multi-core, the Pro has it beat by just a little bit, but you'd be surprised, it's not that much more that the Pro has it beat on. The A14 has never hiccuped on me at all. It's never stopped me from doing what I need to do. I edit videos on this. I work with my documents through the Microsoft Office suite. And then obviously just a lot of content consumption and just managing the YouTube channel through this iPad. And this had zero, and I mean absolutely zero hiccups, guys. It's been an absolute delight to use. And I'm liking the smaller form factor because it is more portable. So if you are looking for a smaller one, you don't want to go with the 12.9, go with the iPad Air, because it's still the same size as the 11-inch and it's just a lot cheaper. Some other things to kind of go over, you know, it's still a very thin device. I have no real nicks and scratches. I've kept it off the case totally. I do have a screen protector on it because I like to protect my screens. Shout out to Paperlike, channel sponsor, link in the description always for you guys. But I am really liking the iPad Air. You know, I'm constantly calling this guy an iPad Pro by accident, because it feels like the iPad Pro, it looks like the iPad Pro, and it's just futuristic like that. So this is the iPad Air with little asterisks Pro, right? And I mentioned it before, this product is gonna cannibalize iPad Pro 11-inch sales, because I don't know why somebody would need to spend another $200 just for that ProMotion display. So just to go over some of the differences on the Pro side, you do get more RAM, so you go from 4 to 6 gigs of RAM on the 2020 models, not the 2018 models. So the 2018 models also have 4 gigs of RAM, keep that in mind. You do get ProMotion display, which is that 120 hertz refresh rate on the iPad Pros versus 60 on the iPad Airs. And then again, the screen size, you go from 11 inches to 10.86 is the exact measurement on the iPad Air. So again, keep that in mind. Everything that I've thrown at this iPad Air, it's handled it gracefully. From simple notes and scripting for these videos, to gaming, to PS4 remote play, which I'm gonna have a video on that later because I was finally able to play full-fledged Madden 21 with my PS4 controller on the iPads and this iPhone too. So I'm gonna make a video on how to get that done because it's freaking awesome. But gaming works well, video editing works well, using it as a photo editor as well. So all the creative tasks that people rave about with the iPad Pros, you can do on the iPad Airs, and you can do all those corporate tasks that I've been talking about with that whole Microsoft series that I've been working on, which I'll link in also in the description below for that playlist, because this thing will also handle all of your corporate work. So that is a beautiful thing to see, and it's hard because there's no other tablet to compare to on the market. You can only kind of compare it to other tablets in the iPad, in the Apple ecosystem, in the Apple world, because there's nothing else. There's no Android tablet, there's no Kindle, there's nothing out there that you can really compare this to. So at the end of the day, I want to let you guys know who this is for. This iPad Air 4 is for students. It's for people that are coming from older iPad generations, coming from the iPad Air lineup. It's for the people that are coming from older iPad Pros, I would say. Maybe Gen 1 and Gen 2 and the 10.5 iPad Pro. Then I would say go for the Air at that point. But if you have a Gen 3 iPad Pro or Gen 4 iPad Pro, there's zero reason to get this. There's absolutely zero reason. You have the better one and you already spent your money on it. So unless you got like 30 days to return it, I would say hold on to that iPad Pro. You're not missing anything on this because this is just the same thing, just a teeny tiny bit watered down. And for everybody else that was looking to get into the 11-inch Pro, get this instead. Save yourself $200 and get this instead, or even save yourself $50 and go up to the 256 gigabyte variant and have even more storage at $50 cheaper than the base 2020 128 gigabyte iPad Pro model, because that one starts at $800. So the only reason somebody would bypass this is to go for the 12.9 inch model, but other than that, like I said, this is the iPad for 99% of people. If this came in a 12.9 inch model, it was cheaper than the iPad Pro, and it can still run everything that I run, which it should be able to if it's having that A14 Bionic chip, then I would go straight for the Air if I didn't have a Pro, right? Because, you know, I don't really need the ProMotion display. All the apps are optimized and they all work well and they're snappy. It's handling all my LumaFusion tasks, it's handling all my Microsoft tasks, so there'll be no need to get a Pro. So let's see what Apple does with a new iPad Pro in 2021, maybe throw a crazy amount of RAM in there and kind of see what else it can do in terms of horsepower. But again, this iPad Air 4 is a perfect companion to a current setup, or it's also perfect as your lone computer. Throw this on a Smart Folio, throw this on the Magic Keyboard, and they work. I have the Smart Folio for the 11-inch iPad Pro, and it fits this one perfectly. So that's how I've been using it. I don't have a Magic Keyboard for this one because I didn't want to spend $300 on a keyboard that's half the price of the device itself. I don't think that's worth it. With the mouse itself and my Smart Folio keyboard, that's plenty for a very nice, powerful budget computer setup. All in, you can get that for under $800, guys. So keep that in mind as well. But that's gonna do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. You know, I really like this iPad Air. Love what it stands for. Love the price point. And again, this is the iPad for 99% of people looking to get into that space, guys. That's gonna do it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, peace.